Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach. This is gonna be a little different video because usually when I do a trailer reaction, I do comic book stuff, action movie stuff like that. Um, but this one I'm just doing because I just found myself watching this over and over again and getting really, really excited about this. So this is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It comes out, uh, 2 weeks from yesterday, and I'm really excited about this. I think this is gonna be Tarantino's best movie ever. So uh, Tarantino, started back like '92 with Reservoir Dogs. I actually saw that like in the theaters right when it came out, so I got to see his whole trajectory. I feel like it's been up and then down. So he had um, Reservoir Dogs, and then he had Pulp Fiction. I actually got to see Pulp Fiction at before it came out in theaters. It was oh gosh, what's the guy who does like Dazed and Confused? Richard Linklater. Richard Linklater. This is back in the early 1990s where they had like the whole Austin crew. They had Wes Anderson and well, he was kind of on a different part of the crew, but it's like Robert Rodriguez, Rich Linklater, Wes Anderson, but then they brought in Quentin Tarantino, and I was going to UT, and he showed Pulp Fiction before it came out in the theaters, and it was freaking incredible. What was I gonna say? I forgot about that. That's a big deal. I'm surprised I don't tell that story more. I got to see Pulp Fiction with Richard Linklater introducing Quentin Tarantino, who was still kind of new. Like he had done one movie, and people, Pulp Fiction's gonna be big. Um, but so then he did, if I remember correctly, it was like Jackie Brown, and Jackie Brown was like okay. Uh, I think I saw it once. I memory hold most of it. All I remembered is Sam Jackson had a ponytail. That was about it. And then he what was it? What was the next? So that was three, and then we got Kill Bill 1 and 2. That's up to five. And then they call this his ninth movie. They're not counting Death Proof, because that was like a couple different filmmakers, and he just did a little segment. So then he did Inglourious Bastards, which I thought was okay. Django Unchained, which I thought was okay, and Hateful Eight, which I found to be just excruciating. So I feel like he honestly peaked with Pulp Fiction 25 years ago, and he didn't have a drop off, but I just like the stuff less and less. I don't believe I saw Django Unchained even in the theaters. I caught it later on DVD. I had the unfortunate experience of seeing. Wow, I probably should have had something more visually interesting than a empty frame right here. Sorry. Usually the first frame is like something. Oh, it's because it was playing, then I rolled it back. So, uh, but yeah, oh yeah, Hateful Eight was just freaking excruciating to see in the theater. It was miserable. So long, and it had an intermission. Oh jeez. So anyway, when they announced Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I had like zero interest. And then they came out with this, not really a trailer, more of like a little teaser. Yeah, teaser trailer, and this is like the official trailer. Okay. So this one was good, mainly for this scene right here, or this line really. So Bruce Lee is a character. He's Bruce Lee in the movie, but it's not exactly the Bruce Lee of real life. We'll talk about that later.
Lethal weapons. We get into a fight.
I cue it up, but I cut it off. That's brilliant. Oh, and I think I'm supposed to turn this down, or it'll blow your speakers out. So this is the Manson Ranch.
Hands are registered as lethal weapons. We get into a fight. I accidentally kill you. I go to jail.
Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
All right, so then we get an actual. I guess there's going to be a fight between Brad Pitt's character and Bruce Lee. So what this is it's set in 1969. in Los Angeles, in the movie industry, with real people and fictional people and real events, and then kind of a divergent timeline. Kind of like how in Inglourious Bastards, they killed Hitler. Obviously, not how it happened, but when I actually read a full synopsis of this from someone who saw the movie at Cannes, and I just gotta say, I don't care about spoilers. I always say to spoil. I'm not gonna do spoilers here. I'm just gonna do stuff, public record type of stuff. But it's good, and the aspect of it that excited me the most was the like divergent timeline thing. That to me is just like pure fun. So let's go over to. It's gonna be me coughing and the trailer, and. So this is my style. I know some people like it, some people don't. I stop every time I have a thought. It's then I don't forget my thoughts, but also it seems to help with getting demonetized and stuff like that. So one of the things is I'm older-ish. I'm 45. So I'm old enough to remember the world when it was fundamentally different than it was right now. So seeing a car door open and a bunch of cigarette butts fall onto the ground, that's some things that, your 30-year-old screenwriter is not going to be able to do. You'll do I can research, Sharon Tate. When you ask your grandpa about, 1969, he's not going to mention this. But Tarantino he says he was 7, in 1969. So this is one of those things, I know it seems like it's not a big deal, but it was huge to me.
I'm Rick Dalton.
So, yeah, I got 1 second later. I'm 5 seconds in, 2 comments. So, one of the things I really like about this so much is that it seems to be a story, and especially what I know from the synopsis, it's a story about friendship and loyalty. And, traditionally, he's, done a bunch of, scumbag criminals killing each other. But whenever he's touched on these things about, honor and loyalty in his movies, he's done them very well. So it's kind of weird to say, but there aren't a lot of friendships in movies or TV anymore. So this seems to be built almost exclusively around the friendship of Leonardo DiCaprio, he's like a cowboy actor. It's kind of like the end of the cowboy phase, and his stuntman. Some people, if you're big enough of a star, you're going to have your stuntman that goes kind of everywhere with you.
My pleasure, Mr. Schwartz.
Call me Marvin. Put it there. That's your son?
No, that's my stunt double, Cliff Booth.
Last night we watched a Rick Dalton double feature. All the shooting.
Okay, so this is Nick Fury. This is straight up and down Nick Fury. For people who say, well, that's kind of a stretch. No. Watch True Romance. Nick Fury is a key, crucial part of that movie and the original script by... So when Tarantino says it's his 9th movie, it's his 9th movie that he directed. True Romance was directed by Tony Scott. But he's been a lifelong fan of Marvel Comics. So if you think, is that Nick Fury? That's Nick Fury. Not officially, but it is.
I love that stuff, with the killing.
A lot of killing.
Anybody order fried sauerkraut? Fry you Nazi bastards!
So this is, it's almost like, so one of the reasons I think this is going to be so good, it's not just because I've seen all of his stuff, and sometimes before normies did, but it seems to be the thing that would be best for him to do. At some point, he was never a soldier. He was never in World War II. He was never really a gangster. He's a guy who loves movies. So now he's making them. The best parts of Inglourious Bastards were the parts about the movie theater. They barely showed that in the trailer. They showed the Inglourious Bastards, but correct me if I'm misremembering, they're in like 30% of the movie. There's this whole other storyline with a woman who runs a movie theater, and that's freaking fantastic. So him doing a story about actors in a time period that he remembers, I just think that's the best recipe for success ever. So Quentin Tarantino has been on record saying he's doing 10 movies and that's it. And I know, originally that might that's not a lot. Yeah, but if you think about it, you're talking about 3 to 5 years in between every movie. And these are quality movies. These aren't something you do a draft, you take the scene out. Like, he'll work on scripts for years. So I think 10 is fantastic. He's 10 years older than me, so he's mid-50s. Yeah, one more, you're 60, and then you just retire.
Seems this world.
So here's another deal. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I hate hippies. I grew up hating hippies. I got like the tail end of the hippie era, and honestly, I thought it was kind of trash. The hippie teachers were just the freaking worst. They would just tell you like, oh, what do you think? And there's no instruction. It was I would draw terrible stuff, and that's your interpretation. It wasn't until I got to college I had an art instructor who said, that's not what feet look like. You're not drawing feet correctly. I was like, oh, okay. So I don't have any nostalgia. I wasn't alive then, but they're doing the hippie thing. I hate hippies. Although now I kind of love them because SJWs are like the modern hippie, but they're so much worse than hippies. And now I kind of like hippies.
Are you an actor?
No, I'm a stuntman.
The whole stuntman thing. I mean, I saw that and yes, he's on the Manson Ranch. It's one of those things where there's not a lot of movies where a stuntman is a major character, and I just think Brad Pitt's like perfect for this type of role. He's like that lean, wiry, kind of that older school action guy. Obviously I came up in the 80s where it was about like Arnold and Stallone and giant muscles, but for most of movie history, this is what a tough guy looked like. I actually lost a lot of weight this year, and I'm realizing that like 95% of like getting in shape is just not being fat. You lose weight, you kind of look like this lean, wiry, tough guy, even if you're not really working out. So I think this is perfect for Brad Pitt.
Look at me!
So you still direct, huh? Still here.
You can do anything you want to him.
The idea of that there's a fight between this fictional stuntman and Bruce Lee in the middle of this. I'm so excited.
I hired you to be an actor, Rick, not a TV cowboy. You're better than that.
Line?
God! Embarrass yourself like that in front of all the goddamn people!
So this part where Leonardo DiCaprio's character messes up a line. The deal is, like I said, he was like a cowboy guy from the 50s and 60s. Now that's going away. He's trying to reinvent himself and having trouble. But this thing where he's making fun of himself for screwing up a line, this is, I remember early, Quentin Tarantino did a million interviews. And he would talk about, once a year, he would have this thing he called it the Quentin Detest Fest. And he would basically just sit in his room and think about all the stupid things he did over the past years, think about his faults, and just basically like dredge him up and kind of deal with them, and then move on with the rest of the year. And I always thought that was like a really intuitively smart thing to do.
All right, what's the matter, partner?
It's official, old buddy. Well, it has been.
So literally just shots like this and this little interchange with, the guy saying like, oh, my career's over, I'm a has-been, and his buddy looking out for him. This is very like drawing me into this movie because, like I said, there isn't that much stuff like that. Like, there aren't friendships. Like, there are snarky people cutting each other down, or like frenemies, or just like work peers, but like just having a friendship is, and I can't think of a time where he's really done that, just focused on that in a movie before. August night and the leaves hanging down in the grass. So that shot right now, or right there, which I think is a actual shot, not like a digital to real footage. That's showing that Leonardo's fictional actor character lives next to Sharon Tate. This is Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. They're going out for a date or something, movie premiere. And so he's going to get drawn into the whole Manson family story.
Here I am, flat on my ass. And who I got living next door to me?
I'm Sharon Tate. I'm in the movie.
You're in this?
That's me. I play Miss Carlson, the klutz.
So this shot also right here just really got to me because supposedly Sharon Tate is not in the movie very much. It's not really about her. It's about she's a public figure, a historical figure. But just this little bit where she pays to go see the movie that she's in, and she's seeing the reaction. There's just like this pure joy of this was her dream, become an actress, and the reaction from the crowd. That's one of those things like that, and like the cigarettes falling on the ground. I don't think like the normal average writer will think about stuff like that.
Charlie's gonna dig you.
Okay, so this is the thing where I guess the Brad Pitt character somehow ends up visiting the Manson ranch and leading to events in the movie, let's say. And that gospel group telling you. So yeah, so there's Charlie Manson, or an actor portraying him, obviously. So this is one of those things where when I originally heard about it, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was like, okay, I don't really care, old timey, but this is where it's just getting really, really interesting because I want to see something like what happened to Hitler in Inglourious Bastards. I want to see it happen to this bastard right here. So that was, I think, a scene of Sharon Tate getting some lessons from Bruce Lee.
In this town, that can all change like that.
So that looks to be the Manson murder. They're going up the hill to go kill Sharon Tate and her unborn child, unfortunately, and her friends.
Hey! You're Rick fucking Dalton. Don't you forget it.
Okay, so I was holding in a cough for like the last 30 seconds, but tell me what you think. I think this is going to be Quentin Tarantino's best movie, just specifically because it seems to be the thing that he was always leading to. Do a story about LA in the 60s when he's growing up, all those things he loved that influenced his later movies, and then his interest in history of the movies, and then that diverging plot, a diverging timeline thing he introduced in Inglourious Bastards, and I'm just so freaking into this. So this comes out July 26th. I think I'm going to see it the first night. I am. I can't wait. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll have another video up probably tomorrow. Bye.